Welcome back to Watching the Throne on the Late Night Chat Network. All right, welcome back, everybody. What's going on, Jay?
What's going on, man?
As you can see, we got Jay here in studio here today. We're here to record some Watching the Throne, and we're in the middle of the second last season of Game of Thrones, and it's been an interesting journey so far. Thank you to our last guest that we just had on last episode, Kyle, who joined us, who you may see again before the end of the show. We'll see. Maybe not. You know, his opinions on the ending of Game of Thrones weren't so great, and I kind of want some people to come on. Hopefully, they're going to be at least a bit optimistic about it, right? I think maybe may have some good talking points, but he's going to let me know. So, and I think we may have hopefully some returning guests coming on before the end as well. But the next couple episodes, me and Jay are just going to be doing here. We're trying to get some episodes banked and kind of move along here, as we only have 12 episodes left at this point as of this episode, right? So because there's 6 more this season and 6 next season, right? So we're going to be talking about one of those today. We're talking about, this is our 62nd episode of Watching the Throne, of course. That's how many episodes we've talked about so far, and this is we're going to be talking about the episode Stormborn, Game of Thrones season 7 episode 2 here today. And so this, if you guys have never seen this show, this is our Game of Thrones review show, kind of overview, where we kind of pick it apart and kind of talk about each scene and let you know what we think on it. This is my second time watching the show ever. This is my first time rewatching the show. I've never gone back and rewatched it after the first time that it's aired. This is JT's first time watching the show, so that's kind of the show here. And sometimes we have super fan guests on, people that have seen many times the Game of Thrones, so that
I'll let you know at the end of it too if I'm a super fan or if I'm just a fan. But
I'm pretty certain you're a super fan now, bro. You're already kind of looking ahead, thinking of House of the Dragon already, how that's going to return. You're in.
If they're going to have any more spin-offs and stuff like that.
You're in. I think that's it for you, honestly. But yeah, what did you think about this episode in particular?
This one was a couple episodes ago. I've already watched a few through then, guys, so don't quote me on stuff. But I mean, these episodes right now, I find, and they're starting to get mixed up with me in the head, is because they're happening really quick, and I'm not having the hardest time following it, but my hand to paper aspect or ratio, whatever you want to call it, it's not working well when you have to write stuff down. It's interesting. So but yeah, no, this one is a little bit different, so we're seeing where people are going to start heading off to, and find out what we're going from here.
I think as a result of what you're saying about it moving at a quicker pace and us knowing there's only 7 episodes this season and then the next season's last season and what you're going to see, and we've talked about this, and now you're actually seeing this, even like you said, you watched a couple episodes ahead of the one we're talking about here today, and you're already kind of seeing that happen. It's just much more obvious now how everything's lining up, like how everything's kind of coming together. You know what I mean? Where before it kind of wasn't as, like, I think, laid out the way it is in these, like, because a lot of these episodes, like even a couple moving forward that we might be talking about, there's a lot of setup. In these episodes, and it's setup that's very clear as to what's happening, because we've been making our way to these points for 6 seasons now. You know what I mean? So, like, I think
that's what I'm saying. I think that's what I mean.
Yes.
By maybe not saying it right, but in a sense that, like, you're seeing people, maybe this episode, they might build a story on somebody and something that's happening. I mean, I'm pretty sure in this episode they build a certain thing, and you don't get to see it now for the next couple episodes, and you're starting to wonder where it's going to all fit in.
And it's not only that, I don't think you're seeing things naturally develop anymore. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, because we're like, because like at this point, it's like, okay, we have to have these things happen now. You know what I mean? Like, so I think it's one of those things where, like, in other seasons, it would take maybe a whole season for a story to develop in a certain direction for you to get from A to B. Now it's like, okay, we need to connect A to B, then on to C, then to D. You know what I mean? Like now it's just like we have to have all these things happen because we literally only have this many episodes left to do it in. You know what I mean? That's what it feels like.
I feel
at this
like
point.
even with their last episode there was with when they were talking about Sam and
Yes.
how he had to do all the cleaning. They made that quick. They were jumping scene
Yes.
to scene to scene to scene of him. And it's trying to give you a slow progression of what's going on
Yes.
with him, but have it all filled in that one
Yes.
episode instead of a season where they could have probably made a season out of it.
Which, you know, like again, I'm kind of on two minds of it, and not really this episode as much as like there's a couple episodes from now. I think maybe the fourth episode this season we're going to be talking about when we end up recording that. That in that one, like you like it really feel like the whole episode is dedicated to people coming together like for the first time that haven't come together since like this first season, right? And like it's nice to see on one hand, but then it's also like, you know what I mean? Like in one regard, like I'm of two minds of it. I love seeing it happen. I love these people coming together finally, but some of it just feels unearned. Like, you know what I mean? Like not unearned. Cause like, yes, we've spent 6 seasons getting to this point, but like just the way they kind of make things happen in this season, you know what I mean? Like it doesn't seem like as natural as it was before, right? Like because I don't know, it's something about it. Like I don't know, like I like seeing it finally happen because and I like all the connections and all the dots connecting finally, but like I just feel like it would have been nice like if they kind of took the same approach that they were able to take in previous seasons, where like, you know, it may this whole season that you were just going to see these people together, you know what I mean? Like, and then this next season you're going to see these people together, whereas now it's just like everybody has to come together for the common goal of what's happening in two regards. One, because of the war that's happening for at King's Landing. That's, you know, like in terms of like the Khaleesi now coming there, and you know, like the fight for the throne. And then there's also the White Walker situation, right? We have two big things just brewing in the background right now. That's like we're just like bringing everybody together for at this point, and it's very clear. Like even Jay, you haven't finished the show yet. And I can guarantee you already kind of know that those are the two big things that where everything's leading towards now. Because it's no surprise after 6 seasons that this is what's happening. You know what I mean? Like it has to, right? Like
yeah.
So
I just I find that too. Also with not intertwining these people until now and quickly they're doing it. It's like you don't know what side to be on anymore. It's like at least you knew who was a good person at the end of the first season, and you know, like,
right?
You kind of figured that out, and now it's like, okay, this person that might be aligning with this person. Now, who do you trust out of the two? Because you know, like who's gonna backstab who now? Because it's all a game, bro.
I mean,
from the north to the south, buddy.
It just says a lot, I think, for something like after 6 seasons, we're complaining about it seeming like it's speeding up here. You know what I mean? Like
it's because we wanted to. I think we wanted to drag on now because we. You know it's about to be over.
But think about a lot of shows today, Jay, how everything time jumps. There's always like, and there's flashbacks, and like I hate that.
It's a lot of flashbacks.
I hate that shit. No, in this show, you're saying
no.
In shows these days, yes,
yeah.
And I don't love that. I don't love that. I don't like the flashback. I think less is more when you do the flashback thing. Not like, but sometimes we see shows these days where the whole season of a show could be dedicated to 2 different timelines, one in the past and one in the present, which, you know, again,
I like that.
I don't always like that,
thinking.
But there's too many things like that now, right? And like in this show, we got 6 great fucking seasons of like natural fucking character building. You know what I mean? And that's why I think the fans are so upset because these last 2 seasons are for one, half the amount of what normally, just over half amount of how many episodes we normally would get for a season. And again, like why would you fucking spend 6 seasons of character development building these fucking characters up just to speed us through to the finish line right at the end, right? So I get it because there's not many shows that do that. And that's what I mean. We take it for granted.
You said that you know, because they hadn't finished the books and stuff like that, so that was was probably a big deal, right?
And
money wise,
and there's a lot of kind of like behind the scenes production type stuff that was going on. That was because
when you become really rich and famous from the Game of Thrones,
right?
You can say whatever you want.
No, but it's like I think some of the people that were the writers or producers on the show were going off and they were waiting to go work on other things at this point in time. You know what I mean? Like
they're probably getting emails us all the time. Oh, come right for us. Come right
Right.
for
So
us.
I think there was some of that going on. Like again, yeah, we know what was going on and we get it. Like in some, and I mean, like in some regard, like in some sense, we get like what goes on a little bit behind the scenes. You hear these type of things sometimes, and like you said, they were trying to rush things because the fact that George R. Martin, the author of this, after this season, I think it's completely off script. I think this season it's still things that he wrote in the books, but I think after this, I think especially for the last season and maybe some of this season, it's stuff that he hadn't written yet, but he was working with the people that do the show in order to like advise and oversee things. And I think some of the things that happened, especially in the last season, because the story hasn't actually finished in the books, are things that he may or may not actually stick to at this point. Who knows, right? I mean, if he ever finishes these books, maybe he'll choose to do it a little differently than what they did in the show, right?
Too, yeah.
So
maybe he's like, fuck that. Why would I mean, I don't want to finish my book like that.
I think after the reaction of what happened with the finale in that last final season, I think he'll think twice about how certain stories maybe will end. And I think I think that would reignite the fan base, because anybody who is a fan of the books hopefully will then be able to revisit it and see it different stuff happen than happened in the show. You know what I mean? Like, so I think that's actually a really good opportunity for him. But I've never read the book, so I'm kind of speaking out of school in that regard. But like, I guess we'll see, man. But he hasn't finished the books yet. Like he just keeps working on other things. Apparently, he worked on apparently he was a producer of like a video game, like the storyline on a video game after this. Yeah, and then he's obviously doing his House of the Dragons shit. He's involved with, I'm sure. So
so he's still got his name everywhere.
Yeah, that's right. He's still getting money. He's still getting a paycheck. Why finish, right? Wait. So he could disappoint a whole bunch of people, right? Yeah, exactly. Because it's nothing. Some of these fans, they'll be like, I waited fucking 20 years for this. You know what I mean? When the book comes out. Right?
Some of these fans, from what I see and get from this, some of these fans are like sports fans.
Yeah, absolutely.
They'll sit there and cry if it's not done the right way.
Bro, people cried about this last season coming up. We just had one of them on the show last episode. Kyle's refusing almost to come back on the show because no, so we'll get there when we get there. But anyways, this episode, let's get into it without further ado. A lot of stuff to talk about here. I mean, the show opens up and there's already, like I said, the lighting issues continue in this episode as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I've noticed that I've had to start putting the brightness higher.
I did too. Yeah.
I noticed that with this next couple of episodes.
Yeah. So we start off in Dragonstone during a thunderstorm at Dragonstone. Tyrion, Varys, and Queen Daenerys talk about the stormy circumstances of her birth.
It's always fun when Varys is in the picture.
Right?
Varys is in the picture, yeah.
Varys informs Daenerys that Queen Cersei Lannister's position on Westeros is tenuous. Tyrion counsels her to burn the Seven Kingdoms and proposes that she forge alliances with the other houses not currently aligned with Cersei. Daenerys then questions Varys about his previous services to her father, the Mad King, and King Robert Baratheon. Varys confides that King Robert Baratheon had little interest in ruling, but initially appeared to be a definite improvement over Aerys the Second, which, of course, is her father. And, because now she's starting to look at the people that are around her. She definitely has a lot of people that, we're part of King's Landing now advising her, right? So like, you got to give it a second look and be like, why should I trust these people? You may be just like walking me to my doom here, right? You know what I mean? You may be walking me into a situation. She literally has somebody who's the brother of who she's going up against working for her now, and Varys, who like half the people can't even trust that guy.
Yeah,
so
that's
like,
what she even said that you can't even trust him.
That's right. No, it's true. I get it. I get why she's questioning, right? So
makes sense.
Yeah. Daenerys.
But she's got dragons.
Yeah. Daenerys then confronts Varys about his role hiring the assassins to target her. She brings this whole thing up, right? That happened because if you guys remember at the start of her trying to with I think this is when she just finally broke free of the Dothraki and everything in the market. There's that whole scene where somebody tried to assassinate her, and that's when Jorah was feeding Varys information back in King's Landing, right? And at that point, he was like, "Get rid of her. Like this is a problem, right?" And Jorah then had a second, you know what I mean? Like, basically when
second coming,
not second coming, he's second guessing himself all of a sudden. Second coming, yeah. Varys reminds Varys reminds her that his choices were limited to either continuing loyalty to Robert by arranging the assassination or refusing and losing his head for it. She distrusts Varys due to his track record of switching alliances. Refusing to be intimidated, Varys points out that incompetent rulers do not deserve blind loyalty, then recounts his lowly origins as a castrated slave and tells her that his true loyalty lies with the oppressed masses. Varys tells Daenerys that if all she wants from him is blind loyalty, she may as well have him killed, but he is much more useful to her and to the realm alive, and that he believes she is the last hope for the people. Dany accepts him saying this on the condition that he does not conspire against her. Instead, she has Varys swear that if he thinks she is failing the people, he'll tell her when she's wrong and to be as honest with her as he has been today. Varys agrees. Seemingly satisfied, Daenerys also warns Varys that if he betrays her, she will burn him alive. Varys replies that he would expect nothing less from the Mother of Dragons. Now, Jay, what did you think about this? Do you think that was wise of him to agree to, knowing Varys? Like,
I mean, you know what? But him coming from being a slave and this and that, I think he does have more alliance with these type of people that he has.
Good point.
She has, right?
Good point. Yep.
I mean, she did free the slaves, right? And it's kind of like something that he probably wished that he had back then.
I just wrote down here, it's good to have somebody like Varys in your corner, but to have doubts about him as well makes sense because he is absolutely a bandwagon jumper. He is. I think
Tyrion trusts him enough. I think.
Well, of course, those two get along good, but like he believes in Tyrion. Like you got to remember, like.
But Tyrion's also a family guy too, right?
But you also got to remember, even in light of Tyrion at one point, him having an opportunity to defend him when he was trying to look good in front of the King Joffrey in that trial, right? Remember, he even backed down when that happened, right? Like, so that's the thing with Varys. Like, that's why I think that I know he did it to survive and he helped him out later. Like, that made sense. But that's what she's trying to say. Like, don't be a fucking kiss ass. Don't be a yes man. Like, you tell me if you think that I'm doing the wrong thing. Yeah. I respect that about her, but she also has a temper, as we know, because she is a Targaryen, right? So I think it's...
Oh, does she?
Yes, exactly. Daenerys is then visited by the Red Priestess, Melisandre, who believes that Dany might be the prince that was promised. As we know, she just got kicked out of that last situation that she was in for killing the what's his name's child, right? Isn't that why she's here right now?
For killing
the daughter, Shireen.
The one that what's his name, Jorah, cared about.
Varys, not Jorah, no.
Davos, sorry.
Yeah, Davos, yeah. Varys questions Melisandre about her previous service to the ill-fated King Stannis Baratheon, Stannis' daughter. While Daenerys initially does not believe that she could be the prince, Missandei reveals that the High Valyrian word for prince or princess is gender neutral. There you go.
Oh my God!
Watch out!
Hey, but
very topical.
Which one's Dany?
Today? Dany's Daenerys. That's why I'm calling her Dany. It says it in the notes here as a short form.
Oh, okay.
While Daenerys initially does not believe that I said that. When Daenerys asks Melisandre if she believes the prophecy applies to her, Melisandre replies she believes it could refer to Daenerys or one other, Jon Snow, the king in the north, who has united the North and the wildlings against a common enemy. This is when Tyrion perks up because Tyrion hasn't heard about Jon Snow in a long time. He's like, oh, Jon Snow. He's like, he vouches for him right away and convinces Daenerys that he will make a good ally given the crimes committed by the Lannisters against his family. Sure. And of course, we haven't seen Tyrion and Jon Snow have not actually seen each other till I think like the second season.
I was going to say it's been a long
first
time,
or
right?
second season, might even be first season. Because remember he went to. Remember his job at the start of the show for the Lannisters was to take prisoners to fucking
King's Landing,
not King's Landing,
the wall.
Yes, exactly.
From King's Landing.
Yeah. So that's when he met Jon, right? Mm-hmm. That is when he went there because Jon just joined the Night's Watch when he went there, right? So he vouches for him, yeah. Given the crimes committed by Lannisters against his family, Daenerys accepts Tyrion's advice and tells him to extend an invitation for Jon to attend her at Dragonstone, where Jon must bend the knee. Okay, so let me
it'll be a big word later on.
Yes,
it keeps going on.
Yes,
and on,
okay, you've noticed. Okay,
yes.
I wanted to say this to you because I know you were I know that you've already gone ahead and watched a couple of episodes ahead of this. we used to make fun of this when this was on the air at this point in time because of how insistent she is on everybody. Like from here on out, guys, you're gonna hear her say bend the knee like 1,000 fucking times. This became kind of annoying, this whole bending of the knee, right? Like I get it. She wants people to like, bow down to her and accept her as their queen. I get it, but like
so
the fact,
rule.
but it's just funny to me because she literally did not say this until this season, and now from here on out, it's like the only thing she keeps saying in like every scene. You're gonna see like every time. We should have a bend the knee counter on the show. Hey, maybe we should just say ding every time.
Every time she
says bend the knee.
I'm gonna start marking that down.
So there, that's the first time. You want to write that down? Okay.
Yeah, no, but I mean, even on the show.
That's right. Yeah. So a couple of things here. How can we even believe Melisandre at all now? Honestly, like after everything that's happened, right? The bullshit that she fucking,
put people through,
right?
She's done, and with her witchy. I don't even know what's going on with that. Am I gonna see that power again? I haven't seen it in a while.
I don't know. We'll see, right? And I think it's a big deal that Tyrion co-signs Jon Snow in this moment because he's an excellent, he's an excellent judge of character, as he mentions, right? He is an excellent judge of character. I would say that. But yeah, that's the only other note I wrote is the bend the knee begins. So yeah, this because I even when she said it this time, I'm like, oh, here we go. Everyone's gonna bend the knee.
Yeah.
All right.
But then that's crazy, man. That he's gonna go. She wants she wants him to bend. Yeah, she wants to send a letter out there, right, for him to become bend the knee.
Yeah.
This is too much, man.
Yeah.
This is getting too man versus woman thing.
So then we go over to Winterfell here. At Winterfell, Jon Snow, Sansa, and Davos discuss the letter they received from Tyrion. In the next scene, right? They say, hey, we should send him a letter. The next scene, hey, look, we got this letter. Jon asks for Sansa's opinion, and while Sansa remembers that Tyrion was kind to her and was unlike the rest of his family, she wonders if the message is truly from Tyrion. Jon confirms the letter's authenticity as it ends with the line, "For all dwarves are bastards in their father's eyes," of course, which is something that they exchanged amongst one another. They kind of said, he said that to him, right? So that's because they kind of understood each other because he was a bastard and he was a dwarf. They kind of were able to come together and come to some sort of certain understanding because everyone didn't really believe in Jon. And I think he was kind of bitching about that being the bastard. And he was kind of like, everyone looks at me badly because I'm a dwarf. Right. So like they kind of really got to know each other because of that.
They were in the shit end of the sticks of the families. Right.
That's right. Yeah. Which is what Tyrion told Jon when they first met. Even so, Sansa worries it is too big a risk, and Jon concedes that now is not the right time to go to Dragonstone. Davos says that Daenerys will make a good ally in the war to come against the White Walkers. Jon himself told him that the Whites are killed by fire, not whites, and what creatures just happen to breathe fire. Yeah, exactly. The dragons, right? So, I like this scene too because Sansa co-signs that Tyrion is not like the other Lannisters. And again, the connections between the characters. Like again, we're talking about a scene that happened, a reference that happened 5 seasons ago that they exchanged like a scene these two. So it's nice again to see some of this stuff pay off this far down the line. Like I can't help but like some of these things, but at the same time, I get why some fans would be like, oh, this is like some fan servicey type shit. Like, oh, of course this is going to happen now. Like, but if you think about it, the seeds were planted
they were
for a lot of these things way back when. Right.
Yeah.
So like, I mean, the fact that they haven't seen each other for this long or shared any screen time is kind of cool when they come back together. You know what I mean? So that's what I mean. That kind of shit is nice sometimes. I do like that. So.
I mean, most you would think most shows are like that too, right? Where they do, if they have a plot to it like this, where they kind of, it would bring it back around to seeing these people. But now we're actually seeing it. Yeah.
Then we're back in King's Landing. This next scene in the throne room of the Red Keep, Queen Cersei Lannister gives a speech, urging several nobles from the Reach, including Lord Randall Tarly, to reaffirm their allegiance to the Iron Throne and not follow House Tyrell in supporting Daenerys. Cersei warns that the Targaryens, Dothraki, and Unsullied hordes would pillage their lands and homes and rape their women. When Lord Tarly points out that Daenerys has 3 dragons, Maester Qyburn replies that he is at work with a solution to that. So so there
we'll
you
have
go.
to see where that one goes. Sometimes,
Following the audience with Queen Cersei, Lord Tarly meets in private with Jaime Lannister, who wants to appoint him as his general. Tarly is unwilling to break his fealty to Lady Olenna Tyrell and is wary of the Lannisters who cut their rivals' throats at weddings. Jaime reminds Tarly that he also swore an oath to the Iron Throne and tells him that Cersei is preferable to Daenerys and her foreign armies. Jaime also promises that Cersei will make Tarly the new Warden of the South. So that's an interesting development.
there's
Right
a
there.
lot of promises.
A lot of promises, of course.
Always.
They have to, right?
They seem to be empty promises a lot of the times, but they, they're promises.
Yeah.
I guess that's all you can give, right?
Yeah. And then we're in Old Town at the Citadel. Archmaester Ebros and Sam examine Jorah Mormont, whose grayscale has spread to his torso.
He looks fucked up now. He kind of looks like a giant lizard.
Yeah. So last episode, they kind of teased it at the end of the episode that it was him in captivity there. And now we're actually seeing him actually sit there with Sam, right? And the Archmaester tells Jorah that he should have cut off his lower arm instead of letting the infection spread. Couple of things that I want to mention about this. Confirms my thoughts that you could have stopped the spread by cutting off the arm, like in like a Walking Dead zombie scenario. And I remember when it happened, when we talked about that, when he did get touched by them, I mentioned that at that time. I'm like, couldn't he even just cut off his limb? And I'm surprised that they didn't think of that. Like, he didn't think of that himself. I mean, I'm sure maybe he didn't want to lose his arm, but like,
I'm pretty sure at that moment too, you can probably end up bleeding to death. You cut your arm.
Very true. Yeah, that's very true.
It's not like they had something to burn.
Well,
they could have set a fire. And
that's what they did back in the day. Yeah, they just fucking that's how that's how they had to do. That's what they had to do, right? I mean, like, they close up wounds.
But he would have been passed out. They would have probably had to carry him afterwards.
He could have pulled it off, right? I mean, that's what but I'm just interested. I just found it interesting because the way they've talked about this in this show is that once you get touched, there's no cure for it. Like, nothing's going to save you. You're going to become one of those creatures over time, right? And then, like, he's like, "Oh, why didn't you cut your arm off? You should have." I was just like, "What? Like, why was this not discussed prior to now?" Right? I just thought that was interesting that they confirmed that would have possibly saved him, right? Because it would have stopped the spread, right? That's the whole idea.
But the cutting the arm, they only found out once they read it in the Citadel books, right?
Well, he knows it. You're right. Yeah. Maybe it's not common knowledge to the outside world, but like, it should be. I think
they don't have libraries.
Right. Yeah. No, but that's So, anyways, that could have saved him. Is all I'm saying in that.
But this is crazy too.
Ebros states that the Mormont is beyond saving. While it is customary for infected small folk to be sent to live with the stone men, he gives Mormont one more day, implying with a look at his sword that the anointed knight could choose to commit suicide instead. When Sam asks about sending his condolences to Jorah's family at House Mormont, Jorah replies that he is estranged from his family. Like, basically says, like, I have no family. Like, no one cares about me.
He's a loner.
Yeah.
But and to be honest with you, that's pretty cool about giving them one more day. Like, they don't even, it's like their own, or telling them you can kill yourself, I don't know what it's called.
It's like a samurai, right? Like when they lost
Dr. Gavorkian and shit, back then.
But like, also, like, again, this is another big payoff. The connection of Sam knowing Mormont from his father. Well, not knowing him, but knowing his father, because he used to be the old Lord Commander of the Night's Watch, right? Before Jon Snow. That's really fucking cool. Again, like, we've seen these characters go halfway across the world. It's not like they could have just picked up a phone back then in this timeline, right? Travel, so it's kind of cool. It is nice, like, right, that this happened here. Like,
Sam thinks he can save him, bro. He wants to save him. He thinks he can, bro.
He's a good guy, man.
He's a good person, man.
Yes. Then later, back in King's Landing, Qyburn leads Cersei to the dragon skulls beneath the Red Keep. He tells Cersei that
those heads.
Yeah, those are big. Yeah,
those are cool.
He tells Cersei that his spies have reported that one of Daenerys' dragons was wounded by a spear at Marine, showing that the dragons are not invincible. Qyburn then displays a scorpion, a long-range artillery weapon, which is like a big bolt gun. Like, it's got like a big kind of like.
There's probably a name for that, like back in, like old days for us, man.
Well, that's probably
like a name, slingshot of some like a bow and arrow.
Yeah, well, as I said, those are like, I think, called bolts or something normally, or that's what they used to call certain bow and arrow type like arrow stuff. But yeah, I don't know. Like, it's like a gap, not like kind of like a Gatling. No, a Gatling gun's the one where it's like a big fucking a machine gun on a thing. This is like, yeah, I don't know. It's like you're right.
Like
it's
the
like a
earlier
spear.
version of that.
It's like it's like a spear that shoots off of it, right? So,
but with like a pretty heavy tension or something, right?
Yeah, so he calls it the Scorpion. He has her test the Scorpion on the nearby skull of Balerion, the Black Dread, the dragon of Aegon the Conqueror, which, you know, if yeah, there you go. There's a House of the Dragon kind of thing.
Reference gone there.
And she is pleased when the bullet pierces through the massive hard skull in this moment. So there you go. Qyburn thinks he's so fucking clever. This guy has another solution for them. She's lucky to have this guy. He's definitely helped out.
He makes fucking Frankensteins and he, you know,
yeah.
For them to reference the Aegon thing, that means you're gonna see that dragon get killed probably.
Oh sure. Well, we already know that, right? We're watching Game of Thrones. Like we already know for a fact that the demise of a lot of those characters in the Targaryen stuff, right? So like,
yeah.
So, in the chamber of the painted table, Yara Greyjoy and Ellaria Sand firmly advocate an immediate assault on King's Landing. Now we're back in Dragonstone. Tyrion advises against laying waste to the kingdom's capital and causing the deaths of tens of thousands of innocents. When Ellaria belittles Tyrion for his lack of stomach for war, despite his previous command and service at the Battle of the Blackwater, Tyrion retorts by deriding Ellaria in that her sole accomplishment to the war effort has been to poison an innocent girl, his niece, Myrcella Baratheon, for the sake of petty vengeance against the Lannisters. Ellaria does not deny it and expresses regret that her lover, Oberyn Martell, died for the cause of Tyrion's freedom. Daenerys ends the argument with saying that for Ellaria to respect her hand. Back to the matter of the invasion, Daenerys insists she doesn't wish to be known as the Queen of the Ashes, to which Olenna Tyrell sarcastically ponders if Daenerys will take the Iron Throne by asking politely. Olenna reminds Daenerys, this tough old bird, man. Olenna reminds Daenerys of her granddaughter, Marjorie Tyrell's fate, a beloved queen who was killed when Cersei blew up the Great Sept of Baelor. So they're just over there just talking shit to all one another, right? They're just like, hey, listen, not my fault that this happened, right? And she's like, but I get where they're all coming from. They're like, why are you going to respond to like their awfulness with more awfulness if you're trying to gain respect?
No,
that's not how you gain respect from folks, right? I get it, right? So
you gotta have some balls.
Yeah. Tyrion proposes using a combination of Tyrell and Dornish forces to lay siege to King's Landing, much to the chagrin of Olenna and Ellaria, who balk at the thought of using their own soldiers. Tyrion, however, insists that using the Unsullied and Dothraki would arouse the patriotism of Westerosi bannermen, who would see them as foreign invaders and potentially close ranks behind Cersei. He proposes sending Grey Worm and the Unsullied to take Casterly Rock instead, which, of course, as we know, is the Lannisters' home, not the capital, but it's where they go off to. It's like when, it's like when people like the president is in the White House. That's where they stay. They're able to stay there, but they don't have to stay there. You know what I mean? Like it's one of those type of things. It's like Casterly Rock is their family home, right? Right. So, anyways.
It's the Weekend House, bro.
Cutting off Cersei's retreat and dealing a massive blow to the morale of the Western Army. In the meantime, the Greyjoy fleet will escort Ellaria back to Sunspear to rally the Dornish forces and then ferry them up the coast to King's Landing, bypassing the Stormlands and allowing the siege to commence early. Daenerys accepts Tyrion's proposal and reminds the others on her council that she will not be attacking King's Landing, and requests consenting approval from everyone, which they give. Tyrion steps up and shows his tactical skill in this scene, eh? Like he's kind of like
you wonder if it's something that he wants to do or if he's planning on himself too. That's another thing too. Like I'm wondering, like, because
you think he's playing he's playing both sides of the fence here?
I'm wondering if he is. Yeah, I really am. I really am wondering because it's
he is a smart guy. They've given us no reason to believe that as of yet, but you're right.
But the tactical advantages sometimes seem a little bit like they can be broken through, right? That he thinks he's given her.
I think you're speaking from a point of knowing the next couple of episodes as well, right? So, but yes, you're not wrong.
Well, because I might forget to say it in the next couple of episodes.
Daenerys dismisses everyone except Lady Olenna. The Dragon Queen tells the Queen of Thorns she is aware that her motives are based on revenge for Cersei and not out of love for Daenerys. Daenerys insists that she will usher in an era of peace. Olenna, however, reflects that there was never a lasting peace under the Mad King, or any preceding Targaryen for that matter. She tells Daenerys that Tyrion is a clever man, but she herself has outlasted many clever men by not listening to their advice. Olenna says the lords of Westeros are sheep, but Daenerys is not a sheep. She counsels Daenerys that if she's to rule Westeros, you're a dragon. Be a dragon. I love Olenna, bro. Like, she's a great character. I just think that, like, she has so much wisdom and she doesn't take shit from anybody because she is an old broad that's survived all this shit. Like, you know what I mean? Like if anything, like it's nice to have a few of these older characters on the show that have actually lived this long somehow, because they can tell people, like, I've seen like many kings and queens and all this go, like, what happened to them, right?
She's played the game for a long time.
Yeah. So it's great character. Great character.
Very so.
Later, Missandei visits Grey Worm to bid him farewell before his departure on Casterly Rock. Grey Worm confides that Missandei is his weakness, and when she expresses confusion, he tells her that the good masters of Astapor tortured the Unsullied by exposing them to their worst fears. For example, a fear of dogs led to being made to sleep with dogs. A fear of heights means climbing a cliff. If the young boy was afraid of drowning, he'd be thrown into the sea. If he drowns, it would be good, and if he learns to swim, it would be good. Way to
teach your kids, bro.
Because listen, it's it's what do they call it? Trial by fire, right? And it's just like trial by fire. It's just like, oh yeah, this is your first fear. Now face it, right?
Yeah,
like,
suck it up, buddy.
Yeah. Because only the fit survive. Grey Worm recalls that he was never the biggest, fastest, strongest, but he was the most fearless warrior until he met Missandei. She replies that she also has to deal with fear and kisses him. Missandei strips naked in this scene and proceeds to undress Grey Worm. Grey Worm is reluctant to remove his trousers, presumably not wanting to horrify her with his castration scars.
I was going to say, is it because he's got no balls?
Right. But eventually it gives in to Missandei's wishes. The two of them share an intimate sexual encounter. That's what it says here in these notes.
I always wonder too, like if you get castrated, I mean, can you even get it up anymore?
No. I don't know. I mean, no, because that's where. So this is what my question to you about it was going to be, right? Because first of all, hey, Missandei, she looked pretty nice there. I gotta say. What do you think about her, Jay?
Oh yeah. She did. I've been waiting for that for a long time.
But the thing I was going to ask you is that, they obviously still made it work. They made it work still, right? So they obviously were able to still get down to business here because
he went down on her first.
Of course, that's what I mean. I mean, you kind of would have to in that situation.
They knew how to go down on somebody back in the day.
Yeah, so they made it work. So
it's not like you can wash every day either.
But listen,
sorry, man, they had to. I thought about that in the scene.
I think you'd be okay with that, honestly.
Probably back then.
Given the situation that they're in, I think so.
They also didn't have toothpaste or a toothbrush, so.
I'm glad that they finally got it done, though. It took a while.
It was a nice little scene, right? You would have hoped it could have been, bigger of a. You knew something was going to happen between those two. We just didn't know how or when.
Yeah,
but it could have been nicer.
Things are getting tense, though. Things are now like she might lose them, right? So they kind of had to make that happen. Later, the Archmaester lectures Tarly about the art of writing history. As we're back in Old Town here, and Sam refuses to give up on Jorah and mentions that a previous Maester, Pylos, successfully treated 2 cases of advanced grayscale that he found, while reading books, right? Yeah. Ebros responds that Pylos contracted the disease himself and died of it because of the risk. The procedure was declared forbidden following this what happened here. Unfazed by this, Sam decides to treat Jorah and secretly visits his quarters after dark. He pulls a Sam, as I like to call in, like fucking even, against everybody's wishes, like just goes and like pulls some shit like this, right?
But how come he didn't? Like, we don't know if he's gonna get it, like with the grayscale. Because
if you watch the scene, though, he has like gloves on. Did you not see?
No, I didn't even pay attention. I seen him scraping, but yeah.
So he literally has like what would become a medical robe and fucking like gloves.
I see that. I just thought that was his thing. Like,
no, he was smart. That other guy was probably just like all up in it, like treating something like why I don't. Obviously, you're gonna get
the blood off his hand.
Yeah, you know what I mean. Obviously, you're gonna contract grayscale if you're like fucking handling somebody, right? So he had stuff on his hands. He had so in this scene, so
he's actually being smart about it.
That's right. That's right.
That's good, man.
Undaunted, he proceeds to visit him. He tells Jorah, "You're not dying today." Reveals himself to be a sworn brother of the Night's Watch, that he served under Jorah's father, the late Lord Commander Jeor Mormont. and was present when he died.
Wow.
Sam gives Jorah rum to drink after taking a fortifying swig himself, telling him that the process will be painful. Sam also provides Jorah with a thick strip of leather as a mouth guard so he can focus on biting down on it to help muffle his screams. Bro, he's a champ for fucking going through all this. Did you see all that shit he had to actually scrape off? That's crazy.
The dead skin, literally.
He's like
so
slicing
cool,
into him like he's a piece of fucking ham. Like he's just like, Jesus. Like,
Oh, I don't know how he didn't scream. I mean, he did a couple, but I mean, after a while, it's gonna be painless. After you just gotta be numb. You know what I mean? He had a lot to take off there.
He explains, so he can focus on biting down on it to help muffle his screams, as he explains that he's performing the procedure without permission. Sam's plan involves using a scalpel to separate and cut away Jorah's infected skin, and then applying a medicinal herbal ointment plaster to the exposed layer. Though Jorah gives him a look that tells Sam he shouldn't bother trying to explain it to him, despite experiencing the pain of having a large patch of grayscale skin debrided. But yeah, exactly. It's debridement. Like that's, again, at that time that maybe they didn't really know enough about how to do that, but like, yeah, that's what they're doing here. I mean, it's that's
what it's called. Like, what's
it
called?
Yeah, debridement. Yeah, that's an actual procedure. Like,
heard the word. Yeah,
it's when you got to take off like dead skin and shit like that. Like, and there's other shit like that exists today. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Jorah nods his consent for Sam to continue the debridement. So a couple of things here, and I'm sure you got some interesting notes on this too, Jay. I wrote down about the protection. Great moment I really liked about this outcome, how this all kind of played out in this. I love how they kind of referenced the antiseptic being like, it was getting drunk back then. You know what I mean? Like, they're just like, this is the only thing you could really fucking do to help solve this issue. Just get blackout drunk, right? But yeah, this would hurt so fucking bad. But I got to give it up to them for the transition of the scene of him cutting into the wound, cutting into the pie, right? The next scene, remember that?
Yeah. No, that was fucked up.
Because it looked like it was gonna pop open like a wound, right? And then all of a sudden it's just him like cutting into the pie or whatever, and you see like the juices flow out. I was like, oh my god, what a transition. Beautiful.
Yeah, because it was like they're cutting it looks like fucking dry, the dry skin with just like pink flesh, and then the next,
so that was really well done, because I think we go to see hot pie in this next.
That's why he said pie. I think that's why he kept saying pie. I think it was bread. What was it, pie? I'm not sure.
Pie, yeah. Then we go to the Riverlands in this next scene. Arya encounters Hot Pie at the inn at the crossroads, accosting him to give her some pie and ale. Hot Pie tells her that he's become a seasoned pie master, and Arya mentions that she has had some experience baking 2 pies. Not mentioning the fact that she served Lothar Frey and Walder Rivers to their father, the late Lord Walder Frey, right?
That's where she I didn't even clue into that,
because she just recently did that last episode, right? Yeah. So when Hot Pie asks Arya if the Lady Knight Brienne of Tarth had found her, Arya gives an affirmative answer. When Hot Pie asks where she is traveling to, Arya replies that she is traveling to King's Landing for the Queen. Hot Pie tells her that Queen Cersei has blown up the Great Sept of Baelor, and wonders why she is not heading to Winterfell. What did I write down here? I just wrote here, like, I love how happy this Hot Pie guy is making pie. like everybody else is like battling it out, like for like different reasons in this world. This guy's literally just making pies. He's the happiest fucking character on the show, right? This guy's loving it, right? He's like, I'm a pie master.
That's it, man.
I just gotta respect this dude for that. Like, he found his way. He found his way in the world. Like, everybody else is like, oh, I want the throne and blah blah blah. This guy's like, listen, I make pies.
I found out what I'm good at. That's what he said.
That's right.
No, but is this when she found out that when he was king of the North?
Well, yeah, I was gonna go on to say that here. Arya replies that the Boltons occupy the castle, but Hot Pie informs her that the Boltons are now dead, killed during the Battle of the Bastards by her half-brother, Jon Snow, who has been named king in the North. Arya, then finding this out, decides to head north, and Hot Pie tells her not to worry about paying for the cost of the meal since she is a friend. As she leaves, Hot Pie remarks that Arya is pretty for someone whom he thought he was a boy originally. Arya rides her horse into the frost-covered forest. She's so shocked when she learns what happens to Jon in this scene, which I thought was pretty cool, again, because Arya is always finding out all these things from other people, because she really hasn't encountered any of her family throughout anything that's happened. She's like the lone wolf. That's right. Yeah. So What else here? What is it? 14. That's my.
We're getting John gets that raven from the Citadel.
Yeah, 1 second.
Mhm.
Yeah. So some days later, Maester Wolken brings John a message for Sam in the Citadel. As Jay's just said here, John gathers in the Northern Lords. Sorry, he gathers the Northern Lords in the main hall and announces that Sam's letter reveals there is a vein of dragon glass beneath Dragonstone. Yeah, because as we know, when he found this out, he sent him a message about all the dragon glass. Yeah, so he adds that Lord Tyrion has invited him to Dragonstone to meet with Queen Daenerys. So there you go. He literally just got invited to the place that Sam has identified that they actually need stuff from, right?
Yeah, so that was that quick.
Yeah.
But they didn't know it was to bend the knee yet, I don't think.
He adds that Lord Tyrion has invited him to Dragonstone to meet with Queen Daenerys and announces his decision to travel to Dragonstone to convince Daenerys to join their fight against the White Walkers, declaring that he plans to travel with Davos to White Harbor and sail to Dragonstone Island. John, of course, always looking out for his people, though. That's the only reason that he's deciding to do this, right? And I feel like John always gets put in these positions where he's going to have everybody doubting his decisions because of like what he wants to do,
even
right? Yeah, everybody, right? So Lords Jon Royce and Robert Glover voiced their opinions that a Targaryen cannot be trusted, citing the atrocities committed by Daenerys' father. Then here we got another great Lady Lyanna Mormont scene here. Urges the king of the north to stay at home. John accepts that he is taking a risk, but stresses that the fight against the White Walkers is more important and they need Daenerys' aid if the North is to be saved. John emphasizes that the North is his home, it is a part of him, and he will never stop fighting for it. Sansa reiterates her objection to John leaving, and John tells Sansa that he's appointing her as ruler of the North in his absence, as she is his sister, regent, and a Stark. And Sansa accepts.
Yeah, Baelish looking on, bro. Every fucking thing. Bro.
So a couple of questions here I had for you. Do you think Sansa will be safe given that the situation?
I would hope so. I mean, from what I don't know. I mean, you would think right now, maybe not, but I don't know. Varys, the only thing I'd be is scared of. Sorry, Baelish, fucking, coming to get Sansa.
Yeah, so we're getting to that right now. There's a great Sansa scene right here. Okay. I misspoke before. This wasn't a big Lyanna Mormont scene. That's the little girl. Yeah, no, yeah. She just kind of says that one thing in this. This isn't the one I was thinking of, but I think it was
she just said
that was last episode. I think we talked about a big scene with her. So, anyways, so in the catacombs following this scene beneath Winterfell, Baelish finds Jon Snow, who is visiting his father's tomb, and vouches that Tyrion can be trusted. Peter tells Jon that while he and Eddard had their differences, they both love Catelyn Stark. He notes Catelyn wasn't fond of Jon and muses that perhaps Catelyn underestimated his potential, as Jon now stands as the North's best chance against the coming storm. When Jon, who clearly distrusts Baelish, says that Peter shouldn't be there and that they have nothing to say to each other, which I love how he fucking was so dismissive of. He's like, get the fuck away from me, you scumbag. Baelish replies that Jon should be grateful to him for saving him from death at the hands of Ramsay Bolton. Just throws that right in his face.
It's true, though.
After literally telling him what he already knows about Catelyn not loving him because of the fact that he was a bastard, which he already knows. Like, we know this already.
Yeah, you throw it into seven seasons in.
Piece of shit.
You're still rubbing it in.
Baelish insists that he is not Jon's enemy. He then doubles down and tells him that he loves Sansa. Like, he's like, Jon, I love Sansa. Like, right? Like, what is wrong with this fucking guy? Like, really? This is the time you choose to tell him this? Like, clearly you fucking love her because she's Catelyn's daughter. Yeah, I'm aware of that. But I just love that he reveals this. Like, it's always been, you could tell he's eye fucking her like every scene before this, but like now this is the confirmation. Now this is why he's a creep, right?
It's eye fucking her.
He is. As he loves Sansa's mother, a disgusted Jon, angered by this, lashes out and seizes Baelish by the throat, slamming into a wall like Tony Soprano style. He tells Baelish, touch my sister and I'll kill you myself. Outside, Jon, Davos, and several horsemen then prepare to ride south to White Harbor while Sansa watches them from the castle.
It's always somebody watching somebody. Eh?
Before Jon leaves, he and Sansa bid each other farewell, while Peter, emerging from the catacombs, gazes at Sansa like down below, right? And he's like, Jon's leaving. here's my chance.
Holy fuck.
What
I
a
remember
creep.
when I watched that, I was like, this is going to be Nico's part because it's just like, the way he's talking. I keep thinking,
What
in my
a
head, son,
fucking
son.
creep, bro. What a fucking creep. You gotta admit, he's getting creepier and creepier by the episode.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
now. Yeah. Later, as Arya prepares to set up a camp in a snowy forested area, her horse is startled by several wolves. This is an interesting scene. I want to get
Yes.
your thoughts on this. Yeah. Before the wolves can attack her, they are silenced by their pack leader, which turns out to be Arya's direwolf, Nymeria, which we haven't fucking seen. And I don't know. Yeah, like
I mean, maybe once or twice in the
right.
first season.
She is initially apprehensive towards Arya, but soon recognizes her former mistress. Arya tells her direwolf that she is going home and invites her to come with her. However, Nymeria turns and leaves with the pack. Arya watches in sadness and remarks, "That's not you." What do you think of that? Like, what do you think that meant, that scene? Like, that was like,
Does she have, like, okay, technically,
it wasn't literally. I don't think she meant it literally. Like, I don't think she was like, "That's not her," because that's clearly her wolf.
maybe her wolf doesn't recognize her because she has no name, no face.
I think what she meant by that, yeah, I think what she meant by that was like, you're clearly somebody else. Because she never really spent much time with her direwolf. You know what I mean? I think she was kind of like, you're, you know how like people change. Like, I think it was more like I don't know who that is anymore. Like the direwolf has its own life now. Like, you know what I mean? Like outside of
its own family.
right,
I can
right.
see what maybe that was its family or not so much,
But it was just weird how she said it. She's like, "That's not you." Like, you know what I mean? It was just like, maybe it was like, "That's not the direwolf I remember." I don't know. Like, I don't think she meant it literally. Like though. Like, it was weird. It was a weird reaction, I thought. Right?
Well, no, but it had me wondering, do they are they always around? Like, and we just didn't know it this whole time, and they're just throwing it back in now. And then I thought to myself that, after that long without it, I mean, the girl's gone through so much things, and especially this season, she looks a lot older than she did last season. So maybe the direwolf doesn't remember what she looks like.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because they're all growing up. But it was weird to see it, and I was wondering that too. And then it was like 4 other ones.
It was a weird moment. Yeah, I don't know. I didn't really get like it kind of like it was one of those scenes where they tried to make it seem like an important scene, but I just didn't feel like the impact from it. You know what I mean? Like I was like, okay, that was kind of odd. Like, right? It was weird. It's like
It
a kind of
think a few things, but I get weird things.
Weird throwaway scene. Yeah. I don't know.
For some time because they had to know that. They had to finish that part off and say that the direwolf's gone for good.
Right.
They never really did.
And then finally, in Blackwater Bay, we got Yara Greyjoy and her brother Theon travel aboard their portion of the Iron Fleet with their Dornish allies, Alaria Sand, her daughter Taid, and Tain's half sisters Obara and Nymeria Sand. In their quarters, the Sand Snakes are lying in bed and argue about killing Lannisters. Elsewhere, Alaria drinks Ironborn liquor with Yara and Theon, which she compares unfavorably to Dornish wine. Alaria asks Yara if she had ever been to Dorne, to which Yara responds that she has been there a few times. Alaria responds that there is a boy in every port in Dorne, and Yara tells her a boy, a girl, depends on the port. As they begin to flirt with one another, and Alaria motions for Theon to get her more wine, Yara explains Theon is not a servant, but he will be both her advisor and protector once she's killed her uncle. Yara puts her feet up on the table. Alaria bends over Yara and spreads her legs apart across the table. Alaria moves her hand up Yara's leg towards her crotch, and then she invites Theon to have a threesome with her and Yara. But Yara tells Alaria, leave him be, because he's useless. Yeah.
Leave him be. He's got no weenie.
Also, it's her brother, but okay, yeah. Well, Yara and Alaria.
I mean, we know that's not
an issue.
Of,
yeah.
Back then.
Well, if Theon already tried to bang her the first time, he re-met her and somehow forgot who she was. Yeah.
But she was flirting with him on purpose. She did it on purpose.
Yes. So. While Yara and Alaria began kissing, Yara's ship is struck and lurches to the side. Moving topside, they discover that their fleet has been ambushed by none other than their uncle, Euron Greyjoy's portion of the Iron Fleet.
I like that ship, though.
It is pretty sick. And this is where he ended up at the end of last episode. He alluded to doing something for Cersei. And of course, was his way of doing something for her, is tracking down these people that did shit to her, right? With the Sands people. The Euron's flagship Silence rams Yara's ship and lands a boarding party. As Jay mentioned, that's a pretty sick ship. Euron at the forefront of the attack. He's a straight up pirate. This
That
guy.
thing comes down. That
Yeah,
arm comes
this
down
guy's
on
a
the
fucking
ship
straight up
after it gets
pirate.
stuck in the ship. It's so cool, man.
Yeah. Well, it's meant to be boarding and take over other
Yeah,
boats.
yeah,
He's a pirate, right?
No, I know. I mean, it'd be cool to see ships like that nowadays, man. Not these big cruise liners.
It rams in and lands a boarding party. Euron at the forefront of the attack. Yara and her men fight fiercely, but are overwhelmed by Euron's warriors. Tyene retreats below decks to protect her mother, Ilaria, on Yara's orders, while Obara and Nymeria fight against Euron's Ironborn. Obara fights Euron, who kills her by impaling her with her own spear. Nymeria attacks him and her with her whip, but Euron strangles her to death with it.
Dude,
Yo,
he's
this guy,
fucking tough,
guy's a
eh?
savage, bro. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, this guy is fucking something else.
He's
Euron,
yeah.
bloodthirsty, right?
Oh yeah. Seriously thirsty.
Yeah, he sure is. Nymeria attacks him with her whip, but Euron strangles her to death with it. Though Tyene kills several Ironborn, she and Ilaria are overwhelmed. Ilaria tells the Ironborn to kill them quickly, but they are taken captive instead. Yara and Euron fight with axes as Yara's fleet burns in the night. Euron captures Yara and then, talks shit to Theon, calling him Little Theon, telling him to come save her. Theon is about to come to his sister's aid, but panics like a fucking little bitch
It
once
turned into
again.
Theon again.
Yeah. It turns into Reek, for fuck's sake.
Yeah, Reek, sorry.
When Euron's men begin mutilating the wounded sailors, reminding him of the tortures he suffered at Ramsay Bolton's hands. He clearly had like a flashback in that moment and like has some PTSD, clearly, right? To Yara's dismay, Theon jumps over.
He's like, I'm out of here.
And the
Fuck
best
that.
is like she's standing there, she's like, oh, come on, dude. Like, really? Like she's like,
She already knew now she's fucked.
because she's like, Theon, like, help me. And he's just like, he's like, jumps out the bar. A little bit, man. Bro. Like, come on, Theon. Like, this is just redeeming moment. Like, come on,
I
bro.
thought something was gonna happen. Like, I thought he was gonna do something or try or something, but
yeah, I love that every time like they think that he's gonna fucking do something redeeming, he just becomes a coward once again, right?
Yeah.
Great.
yeah.
Anyways, after he jumps overboard, Euron laughs with cruel glee. Theon clings to driftwood and sees Obara and Nymeria's corpses impaled on and hanged by the neck from the boat, respectively. Euron's fleet starts sailing towards King's Landing as Yara's fleet burns in the narrow sea, while Theon watches helplessly as the ship carrying his sister, hanging from it, disappears into the night. And there's your episode, guys. Episode 2 of season 7, Stormborn. That was brutal. That was a brutal end. And just like
It was
that,
a good story, and then all of a sudden Theon pulled a Theon. Reek pulled,
Theon pulled a Theon.
Reek.
And just like that, that's a declaration of the first big declaration of war between King's Landing and Daenerys, right?
Yes, yeah,
because this is
the Greyjoys are with her, right?
well, that was the whole thing.
That was the point.
The fleet was supposed to go there and help them, right? And now and she's been teaming up with all of their enemies, right? And this
They're
is
getting taken down.
taken down by their own fucking uncle, these guys, right? So Euron's fucking crazy, man. So yeah, that's all I learned from
Anybody
this
pisses
episode.
me off, I'm taking down. My nephews piss me off when we're older.
So there you go.
We're going to the ships.
So there you go, bro. That's episode 2. And the next episode is called The Queen's Justice. That'll be episode 3.
Yeah.
And we'll be back here once again next week, guys. You can tune in for that one.
Which queen?
That's right. And there's just 2 of them right now, right? Battling for the
Well,
throne.
I mean, if you really want to go that far, there could be a few, like,
And next episode, it will be, as always, guys, Thursdays at 8 p.m. These air live. We don't record them live, but they air live. So if you guys go in there and make comments, we won't be able to respond to you unless we're for whatever reason there at the time of the airing.
Yep.
But if you guys don't watch them live, that's okay. Go back and check out the playlist. These are all in a playlist where you can find them. And yeah, thank you to everybody that's checked these episodes out. This has been a lot of fun for us, and but a lot of work at the same time. It's taken a long time. It's taken about a year of us almost doing this show. So
I'm almost done the book. Like,
There you
I
go.
don't even know if I'll make it to the end of the season. So I'll
So
start writing smaller.
but yeah, overall decent episode.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll can't wait to talk about the next one.
Really, really good.
All right, Jay. See you in the next one.
See ya.